Here you are, a bit of music for us all. I think the music is one of the greatest gifts we bestow upon one another. It's almost coming from heaven, and it is freely given. God bless all the composers and all the people who deliver that magic to us. Hello, everybody. Today's subject will be about knowing our own enemy. Do we recognize our enemy? And before I start and quote as usual, let me just thank Manu for a lovely, lovely scar. Thank you, Manu. And Hilary for beautiful flowers, which I received on Sunday. So let's proceed. I put my glasses on and read you bits and pieces as we start. As you all probably pick up that I love Rumi, so I start with Rumi. I have lost all my strength, but from your power I am able. If I love myself, I love you. And if I love you, I love myself. Isn't that beautiful? One of the Chinese proverb, Sun Tzu, know thyself, know thy enemy. 1,000 battles, 1,000 victories. So you see, many other people, many other sages in various culture and religion explore this possibility and subject of enemies. Of course, we can look at our enemies in a way of external enemies and various things, whether it's political, economical, friends, as somebody put it. Nothing is more dangerous than ignorant friend. I think it was Jean La Fontaine. It's better to have a wise enemy than the ignorant friend. But I'm not going to look at this part of our life. I'm going to look at that what I will call an enemy within. Marcus Cicero once said, "We have met the enemy, and he is us." Very interesting quote, very wise. The enemy is within our own gates. It's within our own luxury or our own follies or our own criminality that we have to contend. It's that which we very often ignore, especially nowadays, because we are so used to being externalized. We derive our perks from external life. So we don't pay attention to our inner situation. Externally, we can blame Google, and we can blame church, and we can blame wars, and we can blame gossips and smear campaigns. But that is easily recognized, and usually we are quite good about it, about that recognition. Not that we will do much about it unless we know our inner enemy. As Nietzsche once put it, don't worry about the outer ones, just pay attention to the one who sits in your chair. And that is the most important enemy. And when we look at that enemy within, one of the things which I talk about it often with my patients and with myself and friends and life is mindless, habitual kind of behavior which we all go through, because it kills our creativity. It kills our innovation. It kills. It makes life dull when we go like through Groundhog Day, you know. It makes us crazily uninteresting and very, very, very dangerous to ourselves. Another thing which I often explore with people is self-righteousness. And my goodness, many religions explore self-righteousness, and that is connected to hate and to anger very often. Self-righteousness also is connected sometimes to a need for revenge. And imagine that you can spend all your life and say you are very young and somebody harm you, and you can decide that you have to revenge this harm. You can actually waste many, many years to find the ways of course, to revenge. What politicians or we all do, making wars, yeah, or what the songs are all about, make love rather than wars. One of the very powerful enemy is also inability to say no or assert ourselves. Usually comes from fear of rejection or fear of abandonment. It goes very deep, could be generational. And that in itself, as somebody clever put, a clever person says no 9 times out of 10, and we, the rest of us, mere mortals, say yes 9 times out of 10. So it's a wrong balance. So practicing being aware of it, it's very important. And of course, being aware is something which I will address later, what it means. Inability to say no is connected probably to the disrespect of one's own self. Disrespect comes from shame, it comes from various traumas, it comes from abandonment by life at the beginning of life. And when we do that, it's very difficult to be, so to speak, as somebody said, in the process of becoming the best version of oneself, because we're so busy pleasing, we're so busy disrespecting, we're so busy frightened, we're so busy in need to revenge, that we don't have strength or space to do anything else. I wanted to quote something which I've read somewhere at the beginning, so I'll quote it now. God has planned for your life. The enemy has planned for your life. Be ready for both. Just be wise to know which to battle and which to embrace. And when we are confused and when we are lost, we don't have that capacity. We simply will not be in a position to discover what actually is what. And we often spend time, maybe because we're not in touch with our instincts, we are completely lost, we are people's pleasing, we go into a terrific situations which we should not be in the first place, and we then waste enormous amount of time, life, money, resources, years sometimes, to get the hell out of that where we should not be in the first place. Should we be a bit better off emotionally and spiritually? Another thing which I often explore and often look at it is our passivity. It's absolutely fatal to us. My beloved sister, who was deeply traumatized, whom I lost over a year ago, was immensely terror-stricken, immensely passive, therefore, and unable to move. Very intelligent. You can be exceptionally gifted. You can be really bright, very well educated. The same as indecision. When you're passive, when you're indecisive, you can be literally stuck. And as I say, particularly to men, indecision killed many clever men. And my standard texts with people I hear is, well, I don't know. And I often ask, who is supposed to know? I don't know. That passivity, it's absolutely fatal. Sloth, kind of laziness, which is a mind laziness, body laziness. It's another thing which, of course, is very dangerous for us. A kind of complacency which we can experience. One of the things which I hear many times on various conferences was the pollutant of envy. Envy kills relationship. When we are jealous of somebody, same as anger and rage, and we acknowledge that, we can do something about it. When that gathers its strength, we become envious, and that's very toxic. Buddha once said, it's man's mind which lures him to do evil things, not the heart. So if we have all those pollutants in our mind, it's what we sometimes talk about it in 12-step recovery, crazy thinking or impaired thinking. That is very much a dangerous thing. Lying to ourselves before we lie to others. Avoiding the truth and postponing life for tomorrow. It's an enemy of the self. Once somewhere I read a very interesting statement that to know one's own enemy is we must become our enemy. And by becoming our enemy, we can reflect. So what I actually talk about it is the lack of reflection. And that's probably, I want to stress to you, is the most important. When we don't reflect, I wish us all to reflect and reflect and reflect every day, because reflected experience brings us wisdom. And it's only through that we can act upon it and transform and change and become better at being ourselves. One of the other things which I often quote and often talk about is intellectual laziness. Like watching crazy videos or mindlessly watching Netflix films, so escaping into all sorts of fantasy and stupidity, which is of no good to us whatsoever. Reflection equals consciousness. So if we don't reflect, we go through the Groundhog Day. We all the time repeat ourselves as if nothing else important. In everyday living, we have power only through reflection, and of course creativity, and of course spontaneity. Impulsiveness is another killer. That's always a sign of lack of not being in reality. Let me just quote something at the end, because I'm just about coming to the end. What Carl Jung said. I think that this idea of fighting the enemy within is more interesting than fighting the external one. And that's what I call individuation process. Now let me just read you something before we go to Serenity Prayer. Life from the center is a life of unhurried pace and power. It is simple, it is serene, it is amazing, it is triumphant, it is radiant. We need not to get frantic. He is at the helm, and when our little day is done, we lie down quietly in peace, for all is well. John Rowtree. Lovely Vedic prayer. May my body become pure. May I be free from impurity and sin. May I realize myself as the light divine. May my mind become even pure. May myself become pure. May I realize myself as the light divine. And as that is the case, I always say that in the process of becoming our enemy and knowing our enemy within, we become our friends. And even our voices become friendly. I always say in my age that it feels to me that I sound more like my friend these days than before. So let's say serenity prayer. God grant us serenity to accept the things we cannot change, courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Bye for now.